I'm not seeing the recording sign. Okay.
I see it. It says recording.
It's not recording. It's not showing for me. Thank you. Okay, everybody. I welcome. This is Joanne, Shearer, Parkin. I'm inviting you. This is the Monday night leader call. And so, Marie and Carrie are not on and I'm here and excited to be here and welcome all of you. And tonight I'm going to be sharing with you some really great information that I've learned recently about postbiotics and particularly about fermented yeast extracts. And this is just kind of, I'm giving you you leaders, a Reader's Digest version of a presentation that I gave to the Arizona Dietetic Association here about 2 weeks ago on this topic. And so in preparation, I read a lot of the research studies. I went to PubMed, read a lot of review papers about postbiotics because it was really, I felt like with the launch of Daily Wellness, I'm just this nutrition geek, science geek. I just want to know. I want to know everything about them, right? I want to know everything about those postbiotics. So this I'm just going to kind of share with you just kind of my journey and what I learned. Okay, so I'm going to be sharing here for about the next 20 minutes, hopefully. Do this in 20 minutes. We'll see. So first of all, I want to start with the definitions of biotics, right? There's several of them now. We have probiotics, and these are the official definitions in the scientific journals, right? So, we know that probiotics are, the live, those are the healthy gut bacteria in our microbiome. But this is the scientific definition, I guess you could say. Live microorganisms that, when administered in adequate amounts, confer a health benefit on the host. So not all live microorganisms, not all lactobacillus are actually probiotics unless they are scientifically validated to provide a health benefit. Prebiotics, we know that it's a substrate. We know them as those non-digestible fibers, right? That selectively utilized by the host microorganisms. Okay, so we tell our customers and our distributors that the probiotics are the seeds in the garden and the prebiotics are the fertilizer, right? So that's going on in our gut. Then there's something called symbiotics, and I'm just not going to get into that one because we don't normally talk about symbiotics. But there's the new kid on the block in the world of biotics, and that's postbiotics. Now, when I went to did my research and my literature search, there's several different definitions that post and come up. And so I think the one I like the best of these is this one from 2019. It says functional bioactive compounds generated in a matrix during fermentation, which may be used to promote health. There we get the word fermentation. So please, could you mute your microphones, everybody? I forgot to do that, and I could do that right now. I could do that, and mic and mute all except me. Okay. So this is the one I think that is the one that I like the best. And then as far as, because remember, I was giving this presentation to dietitians. And so dietitians read this journal called Today's Dietitian. And just last summer, Today's Dietitian had a whole, big article all about postbiotics. And this was the definition that they presented in this journal. It's actually an online magazine more than a journal. And they said that postbiotics are bioactive compounds produced by food-grade microorganisms during the fermentation process of a food or beverage, which are then ingested in the fermented product, resulting in various benefits to the host. Okay, get that? The waste products of fermentation, and this definition, postbiotics are the waste products of fermentation, of food fermentation. These are bioactive compounds from food fermentation. So the Institute, or International Scientific Association for Probiotics and Prebiotics, felt that there was a lot of confusion about what is a postbiotic. And this scientist, Mary Ellen Sanders, she's executive science officer for this institute, actually provided me with this wonderful video that was kind of a summary of this consensus panel that met late in 2019. And they recognized that there was a lot of confusion about what is a postbiotic. Like I just said, I think I just presented to you like 7 different definitions, like there wasn't a universal definition. And so they came up with this one, which is kind of a little bit different than what I thought was a postbiotic. And they say that postbiotics are a preparation of inanimate. These are dead organisms. These are not live organisms. Actually, we're not supposed to use the word dead or, inactivated or killed, but that's exactly what they are. They're a preparation of inanimate microorganisms. These are not live microorganisms. These are not live lactobacillus, or these are not live probiotics. These are inactivated probiotics or their components that confer a health benefit on the host. This is kind of key. Are you seeing this when you look at the definition of the biotics? You'll see that in order to be a biotic in the scientific literature, it has to have a health benefit on the host. It has to have some science to support it as having a health benefit. So postbiotics are deliberately inactivated. Postbiotics, microbial cells they call them, or components, either without their metabolites that confer, with or without that confer a health benefit. And in my research on postbiotics, when I was looking and going to PubMed, this is amazing. This is all the different terms that they use to describe postbiotics. Heat-killed probiotics. That's the largest number of research studies use that term. Heat-killed probiotics. And you're going to kind of understand, this is going to make a little more sense when I get into talking about the fermented yeast extract that we have in daily wellness, when I talk about heat-killed. The term postbiotics is used in the scientific literature. Non-viable probiotics. There's a term paraprobiotics, ghost probiotics, and something called tyndallized, which that's another one. So I think the main thing that we all need to know about these are basically bioactive compounds from fermentation process. These are from yeast and from bacteria that are fermented on some kind of a substrate. And then the byproducts of that fermentation is the postbiotics. Now, these postbiotics have a wealth of health benefits. I mean, it's unbelievable. Anti-inflammatory, help with weight management, help with your blood pressure control, help with controlling your cholesterol, anti-cancer, they're antioxidant, they modulate your immune system, they improve your gut barrier function, antibiofilm effect, protective against pathogenic bacteria. You ever heard of H. pylori? That's the bacteria in your stomach that causes ulcers. Increases short-chained fatty acids. That's another great benefit as well. Now, one thing I learned is that because they take the probiotic bacteria like we have in our probio, right? They'll take some of those out and they'll ferment them on some kind of a substrate, it might be dairy or grains or whatever it might be, and they form this mass. And then the mass, this biomass, contains all these beautiful, wonderful bioactives. In other words, it contains all of the goodies for our immune system, right? They kill the live bacteria, but what is remaining is all of, like I said, the goodies, those potent nutrients and bioactives. What's really great about that, they can then take that and they can put that into pills and powders, and that they can put it, actually use them as an additive even in food products. So this is the advantages of postbiotics versus probiotics. because they have a longer shelf life, don't require strict production and storage conditions. Because if you've been in Life Andes for a while, if you've been through any of the probiotic webinars, you know why we have our probio with the BioTrack. Why? Because those bacteria are very fragile little guys, right? We know that they get destroyed even in transportation. The stomach acid destroys the probiotic bacteria. So there are some disadvantages with the probiotics. And so, that manufacturers have been just like scientists have been coming up with ways and, how do we protect these probiotic bacteria? Well, that's not a problem with postbiotics, right? You get all of the health benefits of the probiotics without the disadvantages, right? They're better suited for supplements and food additives, an alternative for boosting gut health for the immunocompromised and for preemies, little preemie babies. So there's some great benefits. In fact, you go back to the preemie babies. What I learned too in my research is there's something called fermented infant formulas. They have a certain brand of infant formula now. What they've found is that they've taken the postbiotics. So they've taken a lactobacillus strain and another strain of probiotics, and they've fermented them on a certain substrate, and then they've, killed them. So you got all of the goodies left, not the live bacteria, but all the good stuff that's left. And they've put those into an infant formula along with a prebiotic. And in this fermented infant formula, they found that it can mimic the immune health benefits that you get from breast milk. So it very closely approximates breast milk in these little neonatal infants, and it boosts up the good, secretory IgA compounds in the gut of these infants that protects their gut. Really, really, really cool stuff coming out in the world of postbiotics. And of course, in my research, I ran across this article on Food Navigator, and they said postbiotics an emerging trend in functional foods and beverages. So Arthur Daniel Midlands, as you probably heard of ADM, very, very huge mega, big food corporation. They developed and researched a certain probiotic strain that they call BPL1. And they've conducted some human clinical research with it and found that it reduced visceral fat and waist circumference in a human clinical trial. So what they did was they took this probiotic strain and they heat killed it. They had it fermented and they heat killed it. And they found that the postbiotic had the same benefits, right? Which is great because they're thinking, they're kind of a big food company. They're thinking, oh, this is awesome. We can take this postbiotic and we can add it to various foods and promote them for weight loss, right? You see where that's going? Functional foods, right? Now, in my research, I also found this from a research study, which was just published here back in July, that said that postbiotics may be useful in the prevention and treatment of SARS-CoV-2 infection. It says because of the benefits that it has on the intestinal microbiome. And it said maybe related to the occurrence of biomarkers in predicting the severe coronavirus disease course. Interesting, very cool. So we might stay tuned. Do we think that maybe that might be possible? What I did learn is that there is also something called, we know about the gut-brain connection, right? Everybody know about gut-brain? You probably know about that because we've talked about the gut-brain so much with the probio and the prebiotics, and all of the different webinars probably that you've been through. But now there's also something called the gut-lung connection between the gut and your respiratory health. Kind of cool, huh? And they're looking at the postbiotics as really that kind of benefit from the postbiotics between the gut and the lungs, okay? So let's go back and talk about the fermented foods, because remember, we're kind of talking about fermentation here a lot. Fermentation. And when you're talking about fermented foods, technically, in talking to Dr. Mary Ellen Sanders with ISAPP, because I've had several email communications with her, she said that technically fermented foods, well, they are amazing and so healthy for you. They technically not meet the definition of what would be considered a postbiotic. But fermented food does produce food bioactives, some of the same kinds of compounds, right? So you have fermentation. We've been talking about fermentation outside the gut. And fermentation outside the gut produces all these very wonderful bioactive compounds that are so great for your health. But also inside the gut, there's this fermentation process going on, right? That's the fermentation process comes from the combination of the probiotics, right? So your healthy gut bacteria feeding on the prebiotics, which we now have, right? We all know about that. Um, and that helps to populate the good gut bacteria, right? We know that. There's another benefit of that fermentation process going on in the gut. And that is the generation of bioactives called short chained fatty acids, SCFA. And those are gut fuel for your gut, for your large intestine. They protect the gut, right? The gut barrier, prevent leaky gut. They help with appetite regulation. This is a big benefit. Remember our prebiotic. That's just one of it's in our physique line, right? That's because these short chain fatty acids produce anti-hunger hormones and help with your appetite. We know that there's so many benefits of that. And helps with your boosting your immune system, helping with your immunomodulation. See, we don't want to talk about necessarily boosting the immune system. We want to talk about immunomodulation, because some people have an overactive immune system. Some have an inactive immune system. This helps to modulate it. So it's not overactive or underactive. It just gets it in balance, right? That's what they do. They help get your immune system in balance. So this is something that we don't talk about much with our prebiotic and our probiotic. One thing you have to learn is that in order to get these short chain fatty acids, you have to get those probiotic bacteria down into the large intestine to get the postbiotics, or those bioactives. That's why our probio is so superior to anything out there in the market, because that BioTrack and our probio delivers those healthy gut, the bacteria down into the large intestine, because that's where this process takes place. That's where these short chain fatty acids are produced, way down deep in your large intestine. So another good plug for our probiotic. Now let's talk about, this leads us to daily wellness, because our daily wellness contains a postbiotic. That is that's a fermented yeast extract in there. It contains the 5 ingredients, the 5 to thrive. And what's really, 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 really cool about daily wellness, and I'm going to talk a little more about this, is the way that it has been formulated, which is a genius. I just think that our company just produces the most wonderful, amazing products, is that it targets all 3 components of your immune system. But let's talk about the fermented yeast extract. Our fermented yeast extract in our daily wellness is actually a branded form of a fermented yeast extract. And if you look at how they actually produce this fermented yeast extract, it really meets that definition of a postbiotic. Because what they do is they take Saccharomyces cerevisiae. Now, you don't have to ever think or remember how to say that. Well, no, you know it as baker's yeast. Yeah, good old fashioned baker's yeast. So they take good old fashioned baker's yeast and they grow it on a proprietary medium. Like they don't tell, that's proprietary. They don't tell you what it is because this is their company secrets, right? Then it produces a biomass. So it's kind of like this wet, like I just kind of think of this big vat, and it's bubbling and it's fermenting. I don't know. I just kind of had this vision. And then what they do is they dry it out into a powder. Now, when they dry it, the yeast are inactivated. If you go back to that definition of a postbiotic, do you remember that earlier on? We talked about how it was inactivated microorganisms. Yep. So it meets that definition, right? So the yeast is inactivated, it's not live. But is there a lot of goodies in there? Oh yeah, there's a lot of goodies. I'm going to show you here in a second here what the goodies are in there. But I think the backstory on this ingredient is fascinating. There's a wonderful little discovery video on this that you should go watch because it started on a farm 60 years ago in Iowa. So Marilyn, I know you're on here. You're going to love this story.
Yeah.
Yeah, right? In Iowa. Yeah, Maryland's there. It's because a farmer was feeding his cattle fermented grains. And you notice that the cattle that he fed the fermented grains these cattle were a lot healthier. So that led him to starting a feed company. And he started his feed company in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. And after several years, many years later, noticed that the employees that worked in the plant that was manufacturing this fermented grains really got sick. In fact, the insurance company noticed it too. However, the insurance company also noticed that the employees that worked in the office were like typical normal Americans, right? Submitting a lot of insurance claims. So that led the company to partner up with a biotech company. And they tried to figure out what was in the fermented grains that was providing all of these health benefits. And that's really literally kind of the story of how this all started. And so what they did then was that they drew blood, and they analyzed the difference between the immune system markers of the employees in this plant versus those that were in the office. And they found that the employees that worked in the manufacturing plant around all those fermented grains had a robust immune system with these, just a huge amounts of those great, like natural killer cells, for example, which was really launched really what we know as this fermented yeast fermentate. They actually call it a fermentate, is actually the scientific research did. And really, Epicor is really a vitamin for your immune system. That's really what it is. So this yeast, that's the fermented yeast that's in Daily Wellness, you could just tell people it's a vitamin for your immune system. I like that. Don't you like that? I like, drink your way to a healthy day, proactive immunity versus reactive. I love all those taglines, but also you could say that we have an ingredient in here that's a vitamin for your immune system. And this is why, because look what's in this ingredient. Look what's in there. Cell wall components. Okay, so here's another thing I learned by reading all those research studies. They're not even sure exactly what exactly it is in postbiotics that provides such powerful immune health benefits. They haven't really even quite discovered it yet. I mean, this is really a science that's really in progress. But we know about beta glucans already. Do you know that probio contains a beta glucan? It's called Wellmune. Wellmune in itself is an immune system modulator. It helps to modulate your immune system, right? It primes your white blood cells so that when you're taking probio, you're also getting this powerful benefit of this ingredient called Wellmune. So now comes Daily Wellness. You're getting an extra added beta glucans, guys. Impossible to get too many beta glucans, and so you can't overdose on them. So you're getting another added benefit with our Daily Wellness. Full complex of B vitamins. How important is that? Polyphenols and steroids. like you find in the Mediterranean diets. That's why the Mediterranean diet provides such a huge, that's probably one of the top ingredients in the Mediterranean diet, nutrients, is polyphenols and sterols. Those also help to manage your cholesterol. Phospholipids, stress-induced defense metabolites. They haven't even identified all those metabolites yet. It's a work in progress. Trace minerals. We're so depleted in trace minerals. Amino acids and peptides. Do you see that this is a very nutrient dense, this fermented yeast is a nutrient dense whole food, is really what it is. A nutrient dense fermented whole food. Awesome. So what about the research? Wow. This is impressive. They have the research that demonstrates and validates the immune health benefits. Look at that. Increases secretory IgA. So critical for your gut, that SIGA. That's what really, really boosts up your gut health and helps with your gut. The natural killer cells. These decreased IgA, that's good because that's what really promotes allergies. And significant increased antioxidant protections. And there is research that on both people who've been immunized and non-immunized, that it helps to reduce the duration in symptoms of cold and flu symptoms, cold and flu-like symptoms. Good for your respiratory and skin health, right? I notice a difference in my stuffy sinuses down here in Arizona. I'm a kid from North Dakota, South Dakota, right? I moved to Arizona. I got all these, new allergens, stuffy sinuses. I was doing these nasal flushes up to 2 to 3 times a day to get all that congestion out. Not since I've been on Daily Wellness. Not at all. Don't need that anymore. Isn't it amazing? My stuffy head is really gone. And also can reduce inflammatory skin issues, digestive health. We know that there's research showing that it can improve bowel regularity, and it has Daily Wellness also has some prebiotic-like effects. It's not a prebiotic, but it helps to balance out the microbiome, guys. It's so cool what it does, all the different benefits. Now, the fermented yeast, the Epicor, it's in other supplements, but you know what, guys? Nothing has this formula. There's nothing on the market that has this formula like Daily Wellness. Daily Wellness also has elderberry. And for the price point on Daily Wellness versus those other supplements, it's just amazing the value that people are getting with this. And we know that the additional, besides this whole yeast fermentate, you're getting the elderberry as well. And we know that it's, of course, been used for centuries, right? It's been around for a very, very long time, this long history. But what else do we know? It's also scientifically validated, 1,320 studies on PubMed. And all you can do is go yourself and read this titles of these articles. Randomized study of the efficacy and safety of oral elderberry extract in the treatment of, influenza, for example. How it helps to reduce inflammatory cytokines, just on and on. You can just read for yourself. All of the health, wonderful respiratory health benefits of elderberry extract. And again, like I said earlier, is that what we have with Daily Wellness is like this amazing, like we're talking about vitamin for our immune system. And it's not, it's the elderberry and it's the fermented yeast, vitamin C, vitamin D, and zinc. And that combination targets all 3 components of your immune system. You have 3 components, and you have the innate immune system. This is this immune system, like you're born with this robust immune system, right? But the problem with that is it declines with age. That's why in the last year, so many of the elderly didn't survive with SARS-CoV-2 infections. It's because their declining immune system. This is the innate immune system that just was, and that's why they were more susceptible. So we have to take every strategy possible and every tool to boost up our innate immune system, right? Adaptive, acquired immune system. This is really, I call this your memory immune system. This is what develops over years. This is an immune system that remembers, oh, you had chickenpox as a kid. Oh boy, you're done with that. You're not getting that again because you've got T memory cells that remember in case that chickenpox virus comes knocking again. This part of your immune system goes, you're not letting you in. They remember. I found this as far as SARS-CoV-2 protection, as far as your immune system. We've been hearing about antibodies, right? So we've been kind of with COVID-19, we've been focused on the production of antibodies, but in fact, immune cells known as memory T cells also play an important role in the ability of your immune system to protect us against many viral infections, including, and now appears COVID-19. This is a really great article. If anybody wants this article, I can send it to you. Basically what they're saying is that they looked at SARS-CoV-1, which was around 17 years ago, that caused an illness called MERS. And what they found is that 17 years later, they drew the blood of these people who had been infected with SARS-CoV-1 and found that they still had T memory cells that were protecting them from future infections. And now we have the most important component of your immune system. The most important component of your immune system is your gut and your gut microbiome, of which we've been talking about today, right? Prebiotics, postbiotics, right? And probiotics. So all of that's so important for our gut. So where is this going with the postbiotics? I really see that, you see my comment here at the bottom. I think that in the future, if I could look into my little nutrition, little silver ball, I would say that this is the future is more in the area of postbiotics, and you're going to hear a lot more about them. And you're going to pick up a package off the shelf, and you can go to the grocery store, and it's going to say, enhanced with something with other postbiotics, some kind of postbiotic. So just be on the lookout, because I think that's where the future is going, because they have the same health benefits as probiotics, but without some of the drawbacks. And I think it's really going to explode, but we are on the forefront. I think with LifeVantage, as always. I'm so excited about being affiliated with this amazing and awesome company, LifeVantage, and that, they're out there bringing to us as distributors. They're bringing us to the latest technology, the latest science, the latest in natural products that are cutting edge and science-based. And this is what, as a dietitian and a master's level nutritionist, this is what excites me. I hope it gets you excited too. Okay, with that, I'm going to give about 3 to 5 minutes of questions, and then I have to hop off. So anybody have questions? Just unmute yourself. Any questions out there?
Look in the chat.
Oh, I have some questions. Oh, okay, thank you. I recorded. Yes, postbiotic. What do you say about prospects that are taking vitamins to boost immunity? Okay, good question, Carrie. Excellent question. Okay, so in daily wellness, we have about the recommended dietary allowances of vitamin C and zinc in our daily wellness, and for a daily supplement for healthy people, that's adequate on a daily basis, because first of all, we know that if you take high amounts of vitamin C, direct antioxidants, what have we been learning in the last, if you're in LifeVantage, you know that direct antioxidants like vitamin C, if you get overload too much, if you're taking it and you think, oh, hey, 1 gram of vitamin C is great. How about 2? How about 3? How about 5 grams of vitamin C a day, right? Well, vitamin C, the concern is that if that vitamin C antioxidant doesn't get used up, it can convert over and become a pro-oxidant. Do you understand? So that is the dark side of antioxidants, that you don't want to overdo it on direct antioxidants. So the vitamin C, I think is adequate for a daily supplement for vitamin C for a healthy person. Now, would it be a good idea if you do get a cold or flu or something? I do when if I feel like I've got a cold or something coming on, I will get my emergency out and I'll add a little extra vitamin C and a little extra vitamins. Because when you're under stress and when your body's under stress, it does consume more nutrients. So that's a really good thing. But on a daily basis, no. The same thing with zinc, that you can overdose on zinc. If you get too much zinc, and it doesn't take a whole lot more, no more than double the RDA on zinc, it can interfere with copper metabolism. And this is the thing that you have to understand with nutrients and nutrition, is that we want to keep things in balance, right? If you don't want to overdose on one thing, it can interfere with the balance and the function and the utilization of another nutrient. So you kind of want to keep things in balance. And so I really think that what Dr. Dixon did with designing Daily Wellness, formulating it, was a super great idea. Now, vitamin D, the amount in vitamin D and Daily Wellness is 200 IUs. Now, depending on where you live and depending on your vitamin D levels, you might need to take more. Well, we have 800 in our fish oils IUs, right? So I think that vitamin D is very much individualized. I personally, I've taken 5,000 IUs of vitamin D since I was 50. That's 20 years ago. Since I moved to Arizona, I haven't needed that much. I've been able to cut back to half of that because I'm a pickleball player. I'm out under the sun and I get a lot of sunshine. So I don't really necessarily need that much anymore. So I think it's all very individualized on the vitamin D. I really, really feel that it's really important, to know your vitamin D level. I feel most people really should actually take extra vitamin D other than what we have in Daily Wellness in the wintertime if you're in the northern climate. Absolutely. Absolutely. Good question. Oh, is it okay to take 2 doses a day? Yes, you can, Jody. Yes, you can. Okay, doctor. Okay. Remember they recommend the prebiotic to be drank within 30 minutes. Okay, I think I missed that. Anything else? Okay, awesome.
Can I just ask Joanne? What I was wondering is, if we have, and this is all great information. It's just, it's like if we had a short, brief conversation with somebody and they're like, "Oh, I'm already taking vitamins to boost my immune system," what would you say quickly to them that would say, "Well, it's different. This addresses 3 levels of your immunity, and that's not like if they're taking vitamin C, vitamin D, and
okay." So I would say to them, I would say that's great, but I mean, do you know that 70 to 80% of your immunity is actually in your gut? So with Daily Wellness, actually helps with your gut health and provides you this powerful immune protection because of the way that it acts on your gut. So that's vitamins are fine, but it doesn't address your gut health. I guess maybe that would be a good answer. I don't know unless somebody has another idea. So other suggestions? I think that's the big key here is, I like what you said too, Carrie, about there's 3 different, there's 2 different components in your immune system. You have like 3 different immune systems. You have the one you're born with, and you got the memory one, and then you got the gut. And Daily Wellness, it targets all 3. So you're getting all that protection, immune health protection. So yeah, Carrie, that would be a great answer.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Bye. Hey, everybody, I got to hop off. I got another one, another Zoom coming up soon.
Thank you, Joanne. This was awesome.
That was interesting. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Thanks for joining me. Thank you.
Can't wait for the
everybody.
replay.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Have a good
Bye-bye, everybody.